monthly business forum, bringing timely economic discussion to the region for 35 years. Presented by the Portland Community Chamber of Commerce. Presenting sponsors, Bank of America and Martins Point Healthcare. Cooperating sponsors, First Light, WEX, and Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. Community Corner sponsor, Goral Palmer. Reception sponsors, Clark Insurance, KeyBank, and Veril. Tomorrow's Leaders and Entrepreneurs sponsors, Springborn Staffing Center and AAA Northern New England. Media partners, News Radio WGAN, The Forecaster, WMTW News 8, Maine Biz, with production support provided by Headlight. Special community partners, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, Spectrum Healthcare Partners, the University of Southern Maine, and Southern Maine Community College. And now, please welcome Portland Community Chamber President, Jim Cohen.
Good morning. Happy 2021, and welcome to Eggs and Issues, the monthly and still virtual business breakfast of the Portland Community Chamber of Commerce. My name is Jim Cohen, once again coming to you live from my North Deering studios here in Portland, Maine. I'm a partner with the Veril Law Firm, and I'm honored to serve as the volunteer president of the board of the Portland Community Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank all of you once again for joining us at Eggs and Issues. Today's program features key guests from the Rue Institute of Portland, as well as representatives of IDEXX, one of the corporate partners of the Roux Institute. But before we turn to today's program, I want to take a moment once again to thank all of our sponsors of Eggs and Issues who make this event possible, whether in person or virtual. First and foremost, our presenting sponsors, Bank of America and Martins Point Healthcare. I also want to welcome two new Eggs and Issues sponsors, Skowhegan Savings Bank, which is our coffee sponsor, and Vitalius Real Estate Group, our parking sponsor. Although we can't have coffee or park cars together these days, we do thank our partners for their support for our mission and for daring to dream that we will all be together once again. I also want to thank our other generous sponsors, Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare, Clark Insurance, KeyBank, Veril, Goral Palmer, and AAA Northern New England. A special thank you to our media partners, The Forecaster, WGAN, WMTW Maine CW, and Maine Biz. A thank you to our FMI sponsor, the Portland Public Library. And we continue to miss our friends at Headlight Audiovisual in the Holiday Inn by the Bay. And we hope to be back in person again soon and working with them once again. Finally, a very special thank you to our special community partners who support all of our chamber initiatives. Anthem, Spectrum Healthcare Partners, University of Southern Maine, Southern Maine Community College, and MEMIC. Let's have a virtual round of applause for all of our generous sponsors. Shortly, we will turn to today's topic, which I'm very excited about. However, before we get there, I feel it is important to pause and take a moment to reflect on the events leading up to and culminating on January 6th, events which have been very challenging for our nation, to say the least. Let me first say that I feel very fortunate to live in a city like Portland, in a state like Maine. I have a wonderful family for which I'm incredibly thankful. I have committed and ethical coworkers at my law firm, Veril. I'm surrounded by amazing and truly decent staff, volunteers, and members of the Portland Community Chamber of Commerce. I'm also an American and a lawyer, and I value the rule of law and our democratic institutions. These institutions and rules are what allow us to function as a society every day. Certainly, as a Chamber of Commerce, we can count on the rule of law, which allows business to take place, knowing that contracts can be enforced, transportation of goods will be safe, and theft will be punished. And the rule of law supports our most basic of needs and rights. The events of the past week remind us that we cannot take these things for granted. They are rooted in shared belief and common faith. When a judge issues an order, it is but words on a page, unless we choose to give it meaning. And when the Portland City Council or the Maine legislature pass a law, those rules have meaning only when we believe in them and follow them. Those beliefs are fragile. And for over 240 years as a nation, we have believed in them. My goal in raising this issue is not to get into the details of who is responsible, despite my own personal beliefs, but to some degree, we are all responsible when we focus more on what divides us rather than what unites us. When we lose faith in our systems, our rules, or even the facts. My hope for all of us as a world is that we commit ourselves to focusing on ways to agree rather than disagree, to believe in our systems and institutions, to do our jobs. And for those in whom we entrust the responsibility to lead, whether locally or nationally, they too must carry out their responsibilities, rely on facts and evidence in carrying out their duties, and to find ways to come together for the good of us all. It should be that simple. So as we all work to process these events, let us hope that our best days are before us for so many reasons. End of speech. Now on to today's topic, the Roux Institute. Almost a year ago today, the Roux family and Northeastern University announced that they wanted to make Portland home to an innovative graduate education institution and research campus. The purpose of this institution would be to educate generations of talent for the digital and life sciences sector and drive sustained growth in Maine. Music to our ears. The idea wasn't just to establish this world-class institution here in Portland in a silo, but to do it in conjunction and collaboratively with our business community. With this goal in mind, the Rue Institute was officially launched with 10 of our state's largest companies as founding partners and hands-on contributors of this effort, nearly all of whom are members of our organization. These businesses are committed to ensuring that this institution helps answer the needs of our local business community, and they have been actively contributing to the curriculum and providing hands-on training opportunities as part of Rue programming. A few months after this announcement, we were hit with the pandemic, but that did not slow plans down. The Rue Institute kept moving forward, officially opened and welcomed its first class this fall. We are extremely pleased that today we have several members of the leadership team of the Rue Institute with us to give us an update on where things stand and where they plan to go over the next few months and years. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce today's presenters. First, we are joined by Chris Mallett, Chief Administrative Officer of the Rue Institute, who leads the Rue Institute's strategy and teams. Mike Pollastri, Senior Vice Provost for Portland, leads and oversees the academic and research portfolio at the Rue Institute. Margaret Angell, Head of Partnerships and Operations, who oversees the Rue Institute's strategic relationships, Rue's entrepreneurship initiatives, and day-to-day campus operations. We also have a member of the Rue faculty, Bruce Maxwell, Director of Computing Programs. Bruce is responsible for the Corey College computer science programs offered at the Institute, including Master of Science degrees in computer science and data science. Finally, we are joined by two members of IDEXX, a corporate partner of the Institute. First, Shayna Collins, Strategic Capability Development Manager, who helps IDEXX employees grow and develop in their professions. Also joining us is Lyndsey Anderson, Human Resources Program Manager, who currently manages IDEXX leadership programs. Lyndsey is also pursuing her master's in analytics degree at the Rue Institute. Before I turn over the virtual mic, just a quick reminder that, like other virtual Eggs and Issues programs, we will be taking questions from the audience today. As always, please use the chat section in YouTube, and your question will be conveyed to our presenters. If you have any additional questions following today's program, you're welcome to send them to the chamber at portlandregion.com. Now at this time, I would like to introduce our moderator for today's discussion, Chris Mallett. Welcome, Chris. and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, everyone. And Jim, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm Chris Mallett. I wanted to also thank the Chamber for the invitation to be with you all this morning. We're excited to talk with you about the Roux Institute and its mission. I want to thank Jim and Quincy and others who've helped to share the word about this morning's opportunity. I want to especially thank the sponsors of the event that make this possible, and our partners at IDEXX who have taken time from their mission to join us today to tell the story of the Roux Institute. And of course, I'd like to thank my colleagues. We've prepared a short program for you all this morning, and we're excited to bring it to you. First, I'm going to share a brief update on the mission, vision, and progress of the Rue Institute at Northeastern University. And then my colleague, Mike Pollastri, is going to facilitate a short panel discussion with members of the faculty and our partners at IDEX and our head of partnerships to, we think, demonstrate to you some of the value of partnership and working with us, all of us here at the Rue Institute. Partnership is what separates the Rue Institute from other opportunities in higher education. We announced our intention to establish this graduate institute about a year ago, as Jim said. In fact, January 27th. The Rue Institute is the result of a vision put forth by Dave Roux, a Lewiston native, and his wife, Barbara. And through a series of conversations over several months, we at Northeastern came to know Dave and Barb and their vision for Maine and Maine's future. And it's an exciting one. And many of you may have been present a year ago, and Dave and our president, President Aoun, announced that vision and the university's intention to establish the Rue Institute here in Portland. I'm going to share just a couple slides to frame my comments here. So if you give me a moment to do that, we'll get started. So our mission at the Rue Institute is to create economic growth, opportunity, and prosperity for the people, communities, and businesses of Maine. We fulfill that mission as a research university focused on experiential education. That's what Northeastern is known for. By implementing strategies in lifelong learning at the graduate level in our case, applied research, and entrepreneurship. But most importantly, those strategies alone are insufficient. What really makes the Rue Institute special is our commitment strategically to partnership. And as Jim shared in his opening remarks, a year ago, we launched the Institute with 10 founding corporate partners, our colleagues at IDEX who are with us today, and the colleagues at the Jackson Lab and Maine Health and WEX and others who are present and supportive. And we've worked hard with those partners to establish some of our success and our impact in this first year. Today, we're working with more than 30 corporate partners. And the reason we want to focus in our discussion today on what partnership with the Rue Institute is like is that we might imagine that members of this audience may have an interest in partnering with the Rue Institute. So that will be, in some ways, the focus of our talk this morning, is to help you imagine and consider how you might also work with us. We'd be thrilled to do that in service of Maine's future and the economic growth and opportunity that we want for the state and for our neighbors here in Maine. We're proud of the impact that we've had so far, and we have some really exciting plans for the coming 2 to 3 years. First, this whole opportunity is made possible by the partnership that we've enjoyed with our corporate, academic, and community partners, and also with the Roux family, and more recently with the Harold Alfond Foundation. Both the Roux family and the Harold Alfond Foundation have invested significantly in Maine's future, and there is a $200 million investment in the Roux Institute. The Roux family's gift, the initial gift, was to enable the operations, the programming, the personnel, and the market entry. The Harold Alfond Foundation's gift, more recently, is very intentionally designed to benefit the people and businesses of Maine, specifically through scholarship programs. More than $60 million over a decade will be awarded in scholarships through what we call our Alphon Scholars Initiative. The foundation has also enabled an opportunity for us to help employers, like many of you in the audience, hire co-ops. These are co-ops are Northeastern students or Roux Institute students who experience anywhere from a 4 to 6 month engagement of paid work with employers. It's what Northeastern's known for. Our students are not just learning in the classroom, they're applying that learning in the real world through paid work with employers. And a significant portion of the Alphon Foundation's gift will enable our ability to help subsidize the costs of some of those co-ops. And we aim to help employers hire 200 co-ops in the next 3 years alone. The scholarships programs will help attract graduate students to the Institute, over 1,000 in the first 3 years, and make the cost of attendance affordable for them. We offer 29 programs that these students can choose from. And the Alphon Scholars Initiative also enables our research mission. Through their support, we'll hire 50 postdoctoral researchers over the next 5 years. And the purpose of that research initiative and the strategy that we execute in research at the Rue Institute is to work hand in hand with our academic partners in the state and with our corporate and business partners in the state to focus on innovation, research, and development. Our entrepreneurship mission is also about partnership. Over the next 3 years, we'll partner with more than 60 startups in various ways to help provide education programming, to provide financial support, and the types of training and mentorship that will help these startups establish their business and grow it here in Maine. And the Rue Institute alone is a job creation engine in Maine. We've created in our first year 40 Maine jobs. Our team today is 45 people, 40 of whom live and work in Maine, and the other 5 are on their way. And we'll grow that team to more than 75 over the summer, and we'll consistently scale our impact in terms of economic growth through Maine jobs at the Rue Institute over the coming years. But none of this happens, as I've said repeatedly, without partnership. The whole Institute is built on partnership. And this is a slide that shares with you our current partners. The founding corporate partners who were with us a year ago, and those who have joined the Rue Institute mission and opportunity subsequently. We're excited to be working with these partners. We've talked about the corporate partnership opportunity, but we're also partnering with academic partners. Our colleagues at Bates College, for example, or the University of Maine at Orono. We're doing programming to benefit members of both communities. Are in discussions around partnership with Thomas College and have initiatives underway with USM and UNE and others in the state. Today, our case study is going to try to illustrate that. And Mike, in just a moment, will introduce you to our colleagues at IDEXX. IDEXX is an exciting global company focused on the health and well-being of pets, people, and livestock. They're focused on innovation to continue to be a market leader. I think they have something like 80% market share in the space that they serve. And we've worked with IDEXX repeatedly throughout the year to design programming to benefit their business. And we put our education and partnerships teams in service of the opportunity that our corporate and community and other partners are interested in pursuing. Again, it's one of the things that makes this special. And we think there's an opportunity for some of you in the audience to potentially work with us in that way. So I want to introduce my colleague, Mike Pollastri, and ask him to sort of pick up the conversation from here. Mike is our Senior Vice Provost, and he leads academic and research initiatives at the Rue Institute, which means the faculty and the research teams are under his direction. And he's going to moderate a brief panel discussion with members of the faculty and our colleagues from IDEXX with you this morning. Mike?
Good morning. Thanks, Chris.
Can you say just a little bit, Mike, as you get started about this opportunity that partners have to think about working with the Rue Institute in a learning or in a research capacity? What might that look like for a member of the audience?
Well, as Chris just described, we have a an academic program that's directed towards ways in which we can support the Maine economy, building it into the future. And we're actually able to, by creating the Roux Institute, to leverage the enormous research and learning enterprise from across the entire university globally. And so Chris mentioned that we do this by way of research and learning and entrepreneurship. In the learning areas, we have degree and certificate programs that have been identified as areas of prime need across the region, and both now and to bring the economy into the future. We're going to talk about a customized offering that we've done with IDEX. This is something that we have been doing now since we started working with partners here in Maine. And in addition, we've also been developing some shared academic programming with Maine-based academic partners, sort of innovative ways to access graduate education in the fields that we're pursuing here. Our trademark is experiential throughout. So this is our trademark Northeastern curriculum sort of design, where every learning opportunity is experiential in nature. So ranging from in-class sort of real-world problem-solving projects all the way through the 6-month co-op placements that we're known for. And as I mentioned, we can take advantage of the world-class faculty, both in learning and research, from across the entire Northeastern network in the US, Canada, and Europe, across 9 different colleges and schools, and without barriers to collaboration. We identify the opportunity, identify the needs, and are able to deploy the resources of the university. In the area of research, we're starting out with 3 main focal areas that are of primary interest that we identified both in conversations with the partners and just sort of projection where we believe the economy, the tech and life science economy can be headed into the future. And we're into 3 verticals, which are life science and medicine, engineering, and data visualization, with a thread through all of these with the concept of artificial intelligence and machine learning and technology applied to these areas. And in research, where the key is to customize this in collaboration with our partners, both in terms of identifying research and innovation needs for your businesses, and looking for ways to sort of improve your business processes, improve product development and innovation processes. And really, we're excited to discuss these opportunities and find ways to collaborate with you. So
perfect, Mike. Thanks for that overview, and I'll hand to you to sort of take it from here on the facilitation.
Yep, excellent. So we're delighted to have a panel here to talk about our experience with IDEX. And so I'm going to start off by turning to Shayna Collins, who's a strategic capability development manager at IDEX. Thanks for being part of this today. Shayna, I wonder if you could tell us more about IDEX and tell us about what brought you to consider this partnership with the Rue Institute.
Sure. I'm just waiting for my video to pop up. Thanks, Mike. Well, I'll get started while we're waiting for that to come on. So from a partnership perspective, it was a pretty easy sell for us at IDEX, because we've had several leaders at our company that have benefited from educational opportunities through Northeastern. So seeing a Rue campus come on board really excited them. So we have the alumni, but we've also had a lot of co-ops that have been such a great experience. We've actually gone on to hire them as full-time employees. So selling that partnership and getting things going was pretty easy on our end. But we see a couple benefits here. The first is from a talent development perspective, which is a little more broad. With the expertise in computer science that Rue brings, it not only opens up our talent pools with things like co-ops or bringing students in, but also as thought partners for potential research and innovation projects. Bringing on a team like Rue in the large resource faculty that you have, it almost extends our workforce. So we see it in that way, and it's a huge benefit. Then I'd say from a more specific perspective, learning and development, Rue has the faculty to upskill our workforce in those next strategic capabilities for our growth. So we already have a very robust leadership development pipeline that we've developed internally. but we haven't really stepped into the realm of creating learning around really technical skills. So to have partners like you guys who can help us develop learning around topics like machine learning and artificial intelligence is really just invaluable. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about that in the seminar with Bruce.
Great, thanks. So let me switch to Bruce Maxwell. This is Professor Bruce Maxwell, who's the director of our computing programs at the Roux Institute. He collaborated with IDEXX to create some custom programming. So Bruce, can you tell us a little bit about what you did with IDEXX and sort of how did that custom course come about?
Sure. So we started with some initial meetings with a couple of folks at IDEXX, the director of their machine development team and the director of their research group, and initially talked about what IDEXX did, what their products were, what their strategy with growth was, and then some of the perceived knowledge gaps. So given where they wanted to go, in particular with machine learning techniques for doing things like diagnostic tests, what did they currently have in terms of people and capabilities and knowledge, and where were the gaps, and what were the people in the organization where some additional education would really help their strategy to grow. And so we ended up focusing on machine learning as an area of growth, and IDEXX has an excellent machine learning development team. And what we sort of nailed into was that the managers who were developing these products and overseeing these products needed to be better versed in these areas of machine learning and understand the vocabulary, be able to coordinate with the development team and understand how these kinds of projects were likely to play out over time, both during the development phase and also rollout and continuous quality control of development. And so after some initial discussions, we set up some focus groups because we weren't quite sure exactly what the details would be, and we really needed to understand who the people were who needed the education and what they needed to know. So the first focus group we set up was with the machine development team, and I just asked them the question, what do you wish your managers knew? And we spent 2 hours talking about this and hearing about all the things, all the experiences that this development team had had and wished that their managers understood about machine learning, about how it impacted products. And then we set up a second focus group with the potential participants and asked, what do they think that you need to understand? What was your existing experience? What's your educational background? And that was actually really important because what we discovered was there was a very wide range of background knowledge. Some people had actually supervised machine learning projects already, and some people barely knew what it was. We had people with extensive math backgrounds. We had people who didn't. And this was the real challenge in designing the experience, was trying to keep the content understandable at a high level, provide an intuitive understanding, but not bring in a lot of math, which people wouldn't necessarily be able to follow. And so that was the real challenge in trying to design the project. And then scoping was also an issue because what became clear was that a regular course, a regular graduate course was not appropriate for this. It was too much time, it was not focused enough, it wasn't right for everybody who needed this experience. So we tried to create what we felt would be a substantial experience, big enough to affect the change that we're trying to create, but that also would fit into people's work schedules. And so we ended up with what we're calling a seminar, which ended up being 6 weeks of content and a week of presentations. And participants were spending about a half a day a week, 2 hours in a synchronous lecture session, and then 2 to 4 hours outside of class, either doing some reading or working on a group project. And we kept the projects and the content focused on topics relative to IDEXX, and because we were customizing this experience, and we talked about what potential products were, we kept it focused on that. So it was computer vision, medical imaging, and natural language processing. And then each week just focused on a different topic within machine learning. And then each week the participants worked in groups to develop a product plan over that 6 weeks. So first week was sort of what's their problem. The second week is what's their data. The third week is what are some machine learning techniques that are appropriate. The fourth week is, okay, how do I know if my system's working? How do I set up an evaluation? And then the fifth week was looking at project management impacts and hardware. And at the end, in week 7, each group presented a complete project plan for this imaginary product that they had developed. But when I say imaginary products, they were products that they were likely to be working on. And in fact, one of them was funded to go forward at the end of the seminar. So I think it turned out really well. It was very challenging from a teaching perspective to try and make sure that I was hitting the right things at the right level. I feel like we ended up in the right place. And I think it's because of all the work that we put in communication and listening. And I've got some ideas to how to iterate and improve, but I think the process put us in the right place. And Shayna certainly can talk about the IDEX perception of the course.
That's great, Bruce. Yeah, to call it customized is kind of an understatement, right? The amount of, specific time and attention spent on both sides to develop a product that was really responsive to what IDEX was looking for its team. It sounds like it was a really impressive undertaking to witness. So Shayna, was it worth it? So what kind of outcomes did you observe from that experience?
Yeah, so when the course wrapped up in December, I've interviewed several of the participants, and we heard two themes that I'm excited to share with you. So the first one is they said they're changing the way they do their work, which from a learning practitioner perspective, that's kind of what makes your heart pitter patter. I know Bruce can relate with me. But as he mentioned, this subject matter is new to these participants. So an AI project is very different than what they're used to, like a software project or an instrument development project. So understanding that the approach needs to be iterative and it might not follow the same timeframes that they've had in the past, they're able to now set really realistic expectations with the business when they're going out to approach these projects. And as Bruce mentioned, we had the developers come back in at the end to watch these final proposals. And one of my favorite quotes is one of the developers said, "I would feel confident working on any of these projects." So I think that speaks for itself. The second theme that we heard was we're now speaking the same language, which was a huge barrier for these folks, because we've got product or project managers or even veterinarians who are working hand in hand with developers, and they're using a completely different vocabulary set than a data scientist. So one participant said it gave her the context and the framework to use with her developers to approach these problems. And then I'll share a little anecdote as well. We have one veterinarian who's been working so closely with one developer, and the developer notices the difference. He says, "Yeah, he can now, speak the same language as me. I'd actually like to have a seminar in veterinary medicine so I can now speak his language," which I did warn that might take a little more time, might be a little more tough, but we're really excited about these early outcomes, and to have such a customized course come in to solve a specific problem it's awesome.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, thank you for that. I want to change gears a little bit and turn to Lyndsey Anderson. So Lyndsey's the Human Resources Program Manager at IDEX. And so Lyndsey, you have a different, you're embarking on a different educational journey with the Rue Institute. Can you talk a little bit about what you're undertaking and talk about why you decided to do this with the Rue?
Hi, yes, thank you, Mike. I'm happy to talk about it. So similar to most people, I first heard about the Roux Institute back in January of last year when the partnership was first announced. At the time, I had been considering going back to school, but knew that I wanted to stay in Maine and also pursue a degree that wasn't really offered at the local universities yet. So immediately upon seeing the announcement from Northeastern and the Roux family, I was so excited. I submitted my name and requested more information as a prospective student. One thing I learned right from the beginning is how dedicated the Roux faculty was to making the educational offerings really unique and specialized to what the Maine markets are demanding and will demand in the future. I was able to meet with a team member in March and explain what I do at IDEX, why I was interested, and actually go through some of the challenges with data that we have. I had really great support and steady contact with a few different members of the team throughout the spring and the summer. And then I was able to formally apply when the analytics program had been announced as one that would be available in the fall. So I work in human resources at IDEXX. A lot of my peers are pursuing business degrees, human resource management degrees. But when I went back to school, I really wanted to pursue a degree that would help set me apart as a candidate and allow me to bring a really unique perspective to my work. At IDEXX, we encounter data analysis and visualization needs in every area of our business. It's not secluded to software or data specialties, but I got great support from my manager and my peers when I expressed interest in this area, and then likewise when I started taking my classes. So I also really appreciate that the Rue Institute's analytics program did not require a significant background in STEM. My undergrad degree is in communications, so I certainly came into this program with a lot less knowledge about the platforms, the programs we use in class, opposed to some of my peers who do have that heavy STEM background. It was difficult for me to find a program before that looked appealing, but didn't have significant eligibility requirements that I did not meet. And then what made it possible for me to go from interested to actually taking classes in the first cohort was the depth of scholarship opportunities. I had an enrollment director that worked one-on-one with me throughout the whole process, helped identify what I was eligible for, was able to award me some really helpful scholarships. I'm also very lucky that IDEXX offers a tuition reimbursement program to assist financially as well. One thing I want to share, I actually have some classmates who have moved back to Maine to participate in this program and had left Maine to go to Boston or New York City. And then once the Roux Institute was announced, they found their way back. And I think that really speaks to the mission of the Roux and how it's already working to attract talent to Maine and keep talent in Maine. I think, you know, I grew up in Maine. I don't want to leave Maine, and the programs being crafted here present a really fantastic opportunity for Maine professionals to get involved, research, and learn about specialized areas that they may not have had access to otherwise, and also be able to partner with a great university and some really incredible Maine organizations.
Lyndsey, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. You're echoing messages that we've heard from other students about not just the opportunity, the game-changing opportunity of coming to work with us here at the Roux Institute, but also the scholarships that the Alphon Foundation has generously supported, and it's really making a huge difference, and it's really something to witness. So thank you for sharing that. I'd like to turn to Margaret Angell. Margaret is our Director of Partnerships and Operations here at the Rue Institute. And so, Margaret, we have this wonderful audience with the Chamber of Commerce. So what would you like to say to this audience about partnering with the Rue Institute? So what would be next steps? How can people get involved?
Thanks, Mike. It is actually my pleasure to back cleanup for this amazing group of people that I get to work with every day. I want to go back to, we wanted to share with you today how we went from an idea to this physical reality of an institute in just 10 months. And, we hope you got a feel for it in how we work with IDEXX. But really, to come back to the summation here is the core of our mission is about economic growth and innovation. And we do that in partnership with companies, higher education, civic organizations, government, and it's what distinguishes our approach. And really, this is about sustaining existing businesses, all the businesses and organizations that are on this call today, attracting new companies to our community, and through our entrepreneurship programs, cultivating and helping start new companies. And as you've seen, right, from this call, there are 3 areas that we partner with organizations. The first is around learning, right? The first piece of that is lifelong learning. We're so happy to have our IDEXX participants as part of that core first cohort of students. And then, so lifelong learning and the continuing skill development for your employees today, but then also the attraction of new talent through co-op and through our graduate programs. The second area is research and collaborative research, and Mike is leading that team. And then finally on entrepreneurship. And Jim started this this presentation with gratitude, and I think that that's where I want to end it, which is, we're very, very grateful for the opportunity, supported here by fantastic philanthropy, to partner with companies, government, higher ed, civic organizations, to be part of and contribute to the growth and sustainment of this incredible community that now we're all a part of and very, very deeply rooted in. We will be sending out a follow-up email to all the participants that gives you some more information to get deeper in on our programs and what we do. We want to expand our current partnerships and also deepen them. We're looking to do lots more things with IDEXX and our other corporate partners. And we also want to find new partners and partners in any of the ways that we've described today. And so I look forward to working with all of you. And I think we'd like to now turn it over to Q&A.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Hopefully folks can hear me now. I want to thank all of you for joining us this morning. Over the last probably 10 years, both as a board member of the Portland Regional Chamber of Commerce and the Maine State Chamber of Commerce, I've been part of dozens and dozens of conversations about workforce development. And I think what the Rue Institute has offered and is offering and will continue to offer is more and more opportunities to help train the workers that our businesses need, that our economy needs going forward. So we're really, really pleased that you're here, excited about the work that you're doing. So we have had several questions that have come through the chat over the course of the last 10, 15 minutes. And so I'll ask you a couple of questions. The first question relates to the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic. We talked about it earlier. A lot of programming has been virtual. I've had college students of my own here in the North Deering studios of Portland, Maine, who have attended classes virtually. But as we start to emerge from the pandemic and maybe go back to the real world that we know so fondly, do you anticipate that that students are going to be physically based in campus? Will that be 100% of the makeup of the Rue Institute? Will there continue to be a virtual component? What do the post-pandemic plans look like?
Yes, that's a great question, Jim. Like everyone else, we've worked through the pandemic in a virtual way. We built a team virtually. We taught our inaugural class of learners in the fall initially in an online-only environment. And then as we were able to open our campus at 104th Street, thanks to the great partnership with our colleagues at WEX, we started to bring more of a hybrid learning element into play for those learners who were comfortable coming back into a campus environment. Some of our learners prefer to stay digital and virtual while the virus, particularly lately, has surged in the state. But Northeastern's made an investment network-wide in all of its campuses to equip every classroom with what we call NU Flex technology. So every classroom has the ability for learners to be present virtually and feel as though they're in the room with motion-activated microphones and cameras and the like, so that each learner can make her choice about how she wants to engage and participate with her Rue education each day. And so as people become more comfortable with place-based learning again, we'll be here offering classes from the campus. And those learners that would prefer either from a health and safety perspective or from a flexibility and convenience perspective, working adults, learners like Lyndsey, who has family and work commitments, may opt for the flexibility of a digital experience. We're building co-curricular opportunities to enhance the courses so that we're creating community using this campus as a base. But everything about our future as we emerge from this pandemic is going to be hybrid by design. Our workforce, our learners, our classroom experiences, our co-curricular experiences will all be able to be accessed frankly, in a personalized way, in the way that the team member or the learner herself would choose to access it.
Great, thank you. One other question, over as the pandemic has raged on, last year the governor appointed an economic recovery committee. That committee met over the summer into the fall and then came out with a number of recommendations ranging from affordable housing to childcare needs, broadband technology, et cetera. To what degree has the Institute had an opportunity to look at some of those goals and aspirations, and are you in any way participating in any of those components?
Ask you to take this one, Margaret.
Absolutely. Excited to take it. I actually, our team has been spending a lot of time with the ERC recommendations, and I have one right here. And I just, reading off the top line recommendations, around innovation, investing boldly, strategically, and consistently in next gen technology and innovation, supercharge high growth entrepreneurship, and unleash the potential of Maine's workforce by creating education opportunities for people of all experience levels. And I think that those are the recommendations from the state that we feel like we can offer the greatest value to our community on, and that's what we've been focusing on. And so absolutely, we when the shutdown happened, right, there were three of us, and we all went home, and there was a lot of time there where we were wondering how we were going to do this, right? And as it became clear what the economic impact of the pandemic was, we started to change our language around, we're not doing this despite the pandemic, we are doing this because of the pandemic. Right? This state has so much opportunity and so much potential. And we believe it's why we went through all of the work of building the campus and getting the students on board now, because we believe as we come out of this, we'll have our first class of graduates. We'll have this talent to offer companies as they get back on track. We'll have our entrepreneurship programs ready to go so entrepreneurs can take advantage of it. So bottom line is we feel very strongly we want to be part of the economic recovery in the state. We think we're very much aligned. And if there's any suggestions on how we could do that even better, we're all ears.
I'll just add to Margaret's point, our colleagues again at the Alphon Foundation, Greg Powell and the board, recognize that urgency and that opportunity. And in fact, some of the timing of the scholarship, and particularly this co-op program, this is a program that creates Maine jobs through this gift. And we're welcoming 27 co-ops to Maine this month. They're going to spend the next 6 months in Maine working for Maine companies. And these are folks from outside the state who are coming to the community to benefit these employers, and that's supported and subsidized through this Alphon Scholars Initiative. So this theme of partnership, working together in a community like the community that we all live in and love, is essential. And we have the great good fortune to be able to work with partners like Greg and the board at the Alphon Foundation to recognize that it's because of the pandemic that we need to accelerate and have these opportunities available for Maine and Maine businesses.
Great, thank you. Follow-up question from the chat room is, can you talk a little bit more in detail about how the Roux Institute plans to support in the supercharging of entrepreneurship? Yeah,
I think, again, I'll ask Margaret to take that. Our Director of Entrepreneurship, Chris Wolfel, and Margaret have been working with a variety of organizations and companies in the state to develop our answer to that question.
Yeah, thanks for that. So again, we, when we launched this, we went strong after learning and research. And again, last summer, we decided to really push the gas pedal on the entrepreneurship work and really design it with the community in mind. So as Chris mentioned, we brought on a director of entrepreneurship, and together our whole team has done probably over 100 interviews with, I think some of them are actually on this call, with venture firms and economic development groups, and some of our large corporate partners and ask them what it would take for a higher education institution to really be an incredible partner and asset in the community in doing this. And so what we've come to is we're going to do 4 things in the coming year. First, we're going to be rolling out a set of what we call our storefront programmings. This is really open to anybody in the community: boot camps, pitch nights, speaker series. And that really will be a focus on bringing in new entrepreneurs. We'll be partnering with organizations to help target women, people of color, and immigrants into our entrepreneurship programs, help them really get a leg up in starting new businesses. And then, so lots of events. We want to make this a vibrant place, both virtually and in person as we come out of this. The second piece is we are creating a talent program so that people that come can get a certificate or a badge or a degree in these fields, so that both entrepreneurs and their employees have a credential and something to use in the marketplace as they look for jobs. And then the third piece, and really the part we think is really, really exciting, is we have our whole set of programs around accelerating new businesses. We're going to be partnering with a major global accelerator to run accelerator cohorts here on our Portland campus. In addition, we have designed a program we're calling our Startup Residency, where we'll be selecting a few residents to have co-working space here and have access to our researchers and mentors. And then eventually what we're also going to be doing is partnering with our corporate partners, research labs, and others to really bring problems to our community and try to be a launch pad, a co-creation lab around problems and business problems where new ventures can start from those ideas. So we have lots of plans for the year ahead, and we're really, really excited about them.
Great, thank you so much. So another questions are really coming in from the chat, which is terrific. Obviously, people are very engaged. Over the years, I think I mentioned earlier, I've been part of many workforce conversations, as well as internship opportunities, co-op opportunities. Sometimes that talk stays talk. And I think there's a lot of small businesses in Portland or larger businesses who aren't quite sure how to engage, how to support internships. Could you talk a little bit more about the nuts, sort of the day-to-day, step-by-step for a business that's interested in being part of a co-op? How do they get engaged? What do they need to do? And what sort of support does Rue provide?
Yeah, I think each of us, Mike, Margaret, myself, can speak to that. It's a really important question. I'll start by saying, to address your first point, Jim, this notion of executing on the vision and making real on the vision. That we've been mindful of that since long before we announced the Rue Institute. That having the idea and having the resource is one thing, but prioritizing the execution and getting results to drive the impact is quite another. And so we've made that our most urgent priority this year. We'll welcome a second cohort of students next Tuesday, and our community will grow to more than 200 graduate learners in this first year. Those graduate learners are all either motivated, as Lyndsey is, to advance their careers within their own workforce and develop new place of employment, develop new skills and opportunities to lead and influence the impact of IDEXX in this example, or often motivated by finding new opportunity. Maybe someone who's underemployed or who's a recent college graduate trying to find a job in a very difficult economic climate right now. Enrollment at the Roux Institute enables graduate education and co-op. Our students have both opportunities available to them, and that co-op opportunity connects them with the employers that you're asking about. Our employers are essential in order to help us keep that promise, but as you're suggesting, they also want to benefit and can benefit by creating the job opportunity, creating the chance to work with exciting talent. This is, at the end of the day, really all about talent and connecting it into the economy. So I'll ask maybe Mike to pick up the story here and talk a little bit about how do we facilitate an employer's engagement and access to Northeastern learners so that they can benefit from this commitment to experiential learning that's so key to Northeastern's learning approach?
Yeah, it's deep in the DNA, and the processes are well trodden, so there's no need to invent process. What I would encourage would be for potential co-op employers to reach out to us, Margaret or myself, or Kellyanne Murphy, she's our director of experiential learning here at the Roux Institute. There are all kinds of guides for how to get a company sort of on board into the co-op sort of machinery. Let me talk a little bit about the process. Students are prepared for co-ops. They're not just first of all, they don't expect to just be handed a job. There's career prep, there's resume prep, there's interview prep, there's all kinds of, in fact, students need to go through depending on sort of which program, they go into different programs, different sort of mini courses that prepare them for how do you get a job? So that when an employer then gets a pile of resumes and you'll get a pile of applications from students. And the way Northeastern systems are, you'll actually get not just students from the Rue Institute, but you'll get applicants from all over the Northeastern network as well. The company then has an opportunity to interview their candidates, prioritize them, interview them, choose whom they would like to offer, and then go through the hiring process. And Northeastern's infrastructure is here to support that process along the way. So we try to make it as painless as possible for the employers. And I mean, I wouldn't say we make it painless as possible for the students. Like, we want them to actually experience what it's like to search for a job and to know basically how to interview and how to sell themselves and how to, bring these professional skills to the workplace. But certainly on the employer side, we keep the activate, as I'm a chemist, so I apologize for the nerdiness, but you keep the activation barrier low so that people can get over that hump and get there and get access to co-op employers. There's tons of documentation available to help with this process.
We also stand beside those learners while they're on co-op, right? So that the advising staff, the experiential learning and faculty, the students aren't just on their own while they're working for you through their co-op experience. They're being supported by the university. And then maybe Margaret, how does someone who's interested in any of this get in touch with us to explore it and work with the Rue Institute?
Yeah, I do think that the co-op is one of the great ways to begin a partnership with us. And one point on that also is that we've clearly taken a stake in the ground here in Portland at the Rue Institute around certain disciplines, right? Obviously, Bruce is the director of computing. We've got digital engineering, computation, AI, life sciences, so many exciting fields. But Northeastern is a really broad university, and I want to emphasize that. When we think about the co-ops that are starting this spring here, 60% of them are grad students, but 40% are undergrads. And they come from the colleges that represent the disciplines of Rue, but they also come from all of the colleges across Northeastern. And so there are students, from business and design. And so even if you're not in sort of some of the core industries that you might associate with Rue, like IDEXX, we would love to place a co-op with you. And we want to get as many Northeastern students to move to Maine as possible. It's part of what we're trying to do. So when you get the follow-up email, be in touch, express interest in co-op, and we'll put you in touch with the person who can walk you through the process. And then more broadly, we talk about the lifelong learning, the new talent pipelines, the research, and the entrepreneurship. We have amazing partners like IDEX that are doing all of those things with us. But we are really open to working with people in just one of those things or one piece of one of those things. And so it's on us. You reach out to us, we'll get you the information you need to engage with us on the pillar that you want to engage with us on.
Thank you so much. I want to thank all of our guests. I want to thank the Rue Institute. I want to thank IDEX, as well as all of the corporate partners for the Rue Institute. We've had so many questions, terrific answers. If this were a live event, there would be lines in front of the microphone of people waiting to ask questions. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to ask and get answers to all the questions today, but we'll try to work to facilitate getting answers on behalf of our members. So again, thank you all for joining this morning. And as we conclude today's program, everyone should know, and I think they do, that a list of all of the Chamber's upcoming programs will be available on our website as well as social media platforms. We encourage you to subscribe to the Chamber's newsletter and be sure to follow the Chamber across all of our social media platforms. We look forward to seeing you at the next Eggs and Issues next month in February. In the meantime, be well, have a great 2021, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.